Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to day 2 of European Ocean Days. It's great to see all of you here for this second day. We had a fantastic day yesterday talking about blue careers. We also had a high-level panel looking at the Ocean Pact. Today will be even better. Today will be even better. Now, I hope that nobody here suffers from seasickness. Seasickness, because the room may sway backwards and forwards slightly. I said yesterday, and maybe some of you weren't here yesterday, but I said that we are all passengers in a large ship. I'm taking you on a journey. I nominated myself as the captain, as the skipper, but actually today, if there are any other volunteers who want to take over, it's probably better for your safety because I've got no clue how to drive this ship. But I am going to be driving the discussions, navigating our way through some of the topics on the agenda for today. Today, as you can see, we are talking about knowledge for ocean health. So this is the focus today. Yesterday was a big day as well because we had Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, announcing this new initiative, Ocean Eye, which is an ocean monitoring and observation initiative. She also called for an international alliance to secure long-term funding and also to call on people to cooperate, to come up with a framework for international cooperation and joint action, for example, in the future. So that is our topic today, actually, ocean observation, particularly when it's related to ocean health. Yesterday we had a word cloud. We used Slido. I also just want to remind you the Wi-Fi code, because we are going to be having interaction with you today. So there's a Wi-Fi code, there's a password. Do we see that on the screen? Yes. Make a note of that. Happy to host you, exclamation mark, with a capital H. It doesn't work without the capital H, so make sure that you put that in. We're going to be having an interactive session, so getting your views as well on some of these topics. So we have 2 panels this morning. The first one is going to be addressing this topic of ocean observation. And then we have a second panel drilling down a bit further into the issue of data and digital applications, so the tools that we can use. And of course, the focus on ocean health, so knowledge for ocean health. So without further ado, we'd like to get straight into this topic. What I'd like to do is to call on the Director for Maritime Policy and the Blue Economy at DJ Murray, Delila, I think there are 2 ways we can pronounce this, Al-Kuderi. Welcome to the stage. A warm round of applause. Delila.
Good morning, and thank you, Seamus, for the excellent introduction. Well, welcome, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you, esteemed friends of the ocean, to open today's event on marine knowledge for ocean health. And I know that people are still coming in, so we're going to get a very engaged participation as we go through the morning. So thank you very much for joining us today. Your presence is going to make this session a success, as Seamus has said. Now, we've all been hearing that the ocean is of strategic importance to Europe because it underpins our continent's security, prosperity, and resilience. And it is central to our energy transition, our climate resilience, but also our sustainable growth. So our challenge today is not to debate its importance, but rather decisively to shape its path forward. And when we're now listening to all the growing global demand for energy, the demand for critical raw materials, but also new biological resources, all of this is intensifying interest and pressure, particularly now on our deep sea resources, turning our deep ocean into a strategic frontier where economic opportunity, environmental risk, and geopolitical competition increasingly intersect. And at the same time, the ocean is a key geopolitical space for maritime transport, energy infrastructure, undersea cables, and defense, making sustaining on ocean knowledge indispensable for safeguarding Europe's interest, strategic autonomy, but importantly, leadership in a rapidly changing world. But in spite of all this, the ocean is one of the great last frontiers for knowledge, resources, and innovation. The more relevant data and knowledge we have about the ocean, the better we understand the state of the ocean and the marine environment, and the better it can support all ocean-related activities. Ocean observation is the foundation of all the marine knowledge that we need. And the European Ocean Pact, as we heard yesterday, recognizes that Europe must become independent, autonomous in all critical ocean infrastructure, data and information sources, and at the same time enhancing the relevant scientific collaboration where possible. The Ocean Observation Initiative, OceanEye, as announced by President von der Leyen at yesterday's high-level opening, as a key flagship of the European Ocean Pact that will connect, scale, govern, and secure ocean observing capacities in order to deliver this ambition. OceanEye will proactively build strategic partnerships with private actors, national programs, international initiatives to strengthen the coherence and global impact of ocean observing. OceanEye will also seek constructive engagement with the national flagship efforts like Mission Neptune, that we're going to hear about very shortly this morning, so that we can ensure complementarity and build momentum. And today we're going to continue the discussion with all of you on the crucial role that marine knowledge will play in protecting and restoring our ocean health, but very importantly, supporting a sustainable and competitive blue economy in Europe in a safe and secure environment. But as we all know very well, that marine knowledge is complex. It depends on careful planning, it depends on significant investment, as we heard yesterday, but very importantly, it also depends on coordination across a long and interconnected value chain. And these responsibilities are shared. They're shared across the Commission, the European Commission. They are shared across the member states, but also with various institutions and organizations across the globe, but also in Europe. And the knowledge value chain begins with ocean observation, a highly technical and challenging task that demands and generates essential data. But, as we know, ocean observation remains fragmented across member states. We have plans, we have programs, they're not always coordinated at their optimum. They can lead to inefficiencies. We may have duplicated efforts. We might also have missed opportunities for collaboration, but we also miss opportunities for competitiveness in this global ocean observation market. And we do invest a lot, and despite the significant investments by member states, we have the absence of a unified governance framework that leaves many efforts siloed, creating these gaps and lost opportunities that I just mentioned. And it also underlines the pressing need for a coherent European observing system. Such a European observing system must be well organized. It must be coordinated and coherent with a strong European focus and an ambition for Europe to play a leading role. And through these shared responsibilities and strong international partnerships, we plan to work in close collaboration with all, especially with the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO, so that we can reinforce the long-term stability of the global ocean observing system. This is essential. It is essential because it forms the basis of the marine knowledge value chain. And through the Ocean Observation Initiative, the OceanEye, the European Commission will put significant effort to implement an integrated, high-tech, cost-effective, reliable, and secure European ocean observing system. And in this context, the forthcoming Ocean Act that will be adopted as a proposal by the end of this year, aside from building upon a stronger maritime spatial planning directive, it will also serve, and can serve rather, as a legal vehicle for the implementation of a coordinated European ocean observing system, providing that opportunity to create an institutionalized governance structure. So, very important to this is stakeholder engagement, and this has been central to this process. We recently closed calls for evidence for both the Ocean Act but also the Ocean Observation Initiative, and we have received hundreds of replies. And I very much thank you for these contributions, and we're now sifting through them very quickly so that we can make sense of them to shape both the Ocean Act but also the Ocean Observation Initiative communication that will also come out, as you heard, later on this year. Now, let us come back to the knowledge value chain. For ocean observations to be useful, access, management, transformation of the underlying data is essential. Data must follow methodological standards and be properly managed, allowing them to feed applications and to be processed into knowledge outputs for policy. And this is why we are working intensely across the European Commission and with our partners on all aspects of marine knowledge. We have invested in Europe heavily in ocean observation over the past decades, and we have progressively assumed a position in some areas of global leadership. I'll start with the Copernicus, our Earth observation flagship of the EU space program. Through this, we have built the world's most advanced space-based ocean monitoring system, the Copernicus Marine Service, which provides satellite-based ocean observations, advanced modeling, forecast, but also high-level analysis. This is complemented by EMODNet, the European Marine Observation and Data Network that provides vital in situ data on the marine environment and on human activities, contributed by hundreds of institutions. And our aim is to increase EMODNet's data coverage, parameters, and accessibility. Another cog in our European data and knowledge is WISE Marine. This is managed by the European Environment Agency to deliver data on Europe's seas and to support the implementation of the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. Another good example of Europe's leadership, of course, is the digital twin of the ocean. If you haven't had a chance to have a look at it, it's outside and a demonstration can be made, but also mentioned by the President von der Leyen yesterday. It is a powerful tool that lies at the heart of the ocean eye and that significantly relies on data and lots of data. And we're committed to make the DTO fully operational by 2030. Now, all of these services that I've mentioned do rely on a continuous stream of high-quality, in situ, satellite, but also global ocean data sources. But marine knowledge extends beyond these examples that I've just given this morning. It also includes other sorts of data, like fisheries, for example, scientific advice, socioeconomic data, and information also derived from policy implementation. So a successful European marine knowledge agenda needs to integrate all of these different components. And the knowledge already supports and is going to increasingly support the European Commission, but importantly also the national authorities in the member states in order to implement all the EU ocean relevant policies. And today we're privileged, we have a multidisciplinary expert panels, but also you yourselves as participants and panelists to discuss marine knowledge for ocean health, but also all the underpinning components that I've mentioned. And I very much look forward to listening to your discussions and contributions, because they will be important for us also to listen to you, to also shape our forthcoming ocean observation initiative, The Ocean Eye. And I have the pleasure also that I'm going to be joined in this opening with my esteemed colleague, Christoph Kautz, also from DG DEFIS, who will also join me here shortly. So thank you very much. And over to you, Seamus. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Delila. Thank you very much for those opening remarks. So yes, it really is, isn't it, about making sure that things are not so fragmented. It's about coming together, and that means dialogue, communication. Perhaps yesterday was the first step with the announcement of Ocean Eye for more consultation, for communication, etc. What's exciting for me is also the science behind all of this, the technology. And you know, in this age of artificial intelligence, where are we headed with all of this? And when minds come together, that international cooperation, maybe that's also something we can look forward to in terms of the different tools we can use when it comes to ocean observation. What I'd like to do now is call on Christoph Kautz, Director for Space Policy, Satellite Navigation and Earth Observation at the Directorate General for the Defense Industry and Space. Christoph, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Warm round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure being here with you today on the occasion of the second day of the European Ocean Days. Yesterday, the session on the European Ocean Pact presented you with many elements to understand the importance and central role of ocean health. Indeed, the Ocean Pact reminds us why ocean health is essential to support so many human activities. And yet, the so-called triple crisis due to climate change, pollution, biodiversity loss represents a severe threat to the health of our oceans, pushing marine systems towards tipping points, causing accelerated warming, acidification, sea level rise, plastic accumulation, all severely impacting ecosystems and human activities and, of course, human well-being. This is why ocean observing capacities, on which I want to focus a little bit, and the resulting marine knowledge are essential assets that are indispensable for environmental management, climate forecast, early warning, but also, as Delila reminded us, security aspects and a myriad of facets of the blue economy. And this is also why the European Commission decided to launch the Ocean Observation Initiative, now called Ocean Eye, I understand, which will support the European Ocean Pact and other major European marine policies. And furthermore, amid shifting geopolitics, securing European autonomy and cementing leadership in ocean observation is essential. I think the recent events have only confirmed this. And this initiative should mandate enduring investment and robust collaboration among all stakeholders to devise and implement an advanced, purpose-driven ocean observation framework that serves societal imperatives. Well, to achieve these goals, the good news is that Europe already has at its disposal several assets in the domain of ocean observation. As it was mentioned, the Copernicus Marine Service, EMODNet, and what we are currently building, the EU digital twin of the ocean. And we will continue to develop and integrate these assets. As I have responsibility for Copernicus, let me focus perhaps a few seconds on, or minutes on Copernicus. As it was said, Copernicus is the world's largest and leading Earth observation program, and it has been fully operational for the past 10 years. We benefit from a fleet of dedicated observation satellites called Sentinels, which are divided in 6 different families and cover all aspects of Earth observation. We have, as you well know, I think, a dedicated marine service which provides a rich portfolio of information products on the current and forecasted state of the global oceans and European regional seas. And we also provide an assessment of ocean health, which is summarized annually in the Copernicus Ocean State Report. Of course, we are not stopping there. We are further developing the Copernicus Marine Service and Copernicus in general. Just to say a few words perhaps about the future of Copernicus. So first of all, in the next multi-annual financial framework set to begin in 2028, we have, of course, again, anchored very well Copernicus inside and also the Marine Service. Second, we are, of course, exploring potential evolutions and, in particular, the synergies between the digital twin of the ocean and EMODNet, and I will come to that in a second. And third, we are also expanding the so-called space components, or the Sentinels of Copernicus, through new satellite missions. So we have new missions which have these nice abbreviations, SHIME, Crystal, but the abbreviations is not the important thing. The important thing is that we will be able to optimize monitoring and forecasting of our coastal areas, the Arctic, and global ocean biochemical parameters vital for ocean health assessment. And then, of course, as it was said in the introduction, bringing things together, we are working with the EMODNet, which is the in situ marine data service, and I think its importance is now recognized amongst all the stakeholders as a trusted source in situ marine environmental and human activities. And of course, we use these data also in Copernicus. And then, as it was mentioned, EU digital twin of the ocean, which should be a tool for decision makers and stakeholders to assess the status of the ocean, evaluate the impacts, and future-proof their policy initiatives. And here, of course, the data for this digital twin of the ocean, they need to come from Copernicus Marine Service, EMODNet, and others. So you see, we will try to bring everything together under one roof called Ocean Eye. And with that, I think I would like to conclude, just reminding us that effective decision-making tools can only be as good as the underlying ocean observing system that feeds and supports them. In this respect, I look forward to this ocean health session and wish you a fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christoph. Thank you very much for that perspective on the science side of things, satellite navigation, space policy, Earth observation. It's true, getting our head around all of the different aspects of all of this. We have EUs. Hands up if you've heard of EUs. EUs. Great. In the front row, hopefully, yes, all hands went up. So, of course, the European Ocean Observation System. I like to, avoid the acronym, but I have heard people calling it EUs. And then we have GOOS. Anyone know what GOOS stands for? Great. So this is the European component of the, well, we have Euro GOOS as well, don't we? Which is the European component of the global ocean observation system, observing system as well, some people are calling it. So lots of things to get our heads around. And as I said earlier, it's great to get the different perspectives. And this is about the coming together, isn't it? Perhaps that's also why we've chosen this umbrella name, Ocean Eye, so that people can actually understand who's working on what, who's responsible for what, where everything fits into things. Let's go to France to get the perspective from France. I'd like to call to the stage the special envoy of the French president for the 3rd United Nations Ocean Conference, also an ambassador for the North and South Poles and maritime issues. A warm round of applause, please, for Olivier Poivre d'Avor.
Bonjour. Voilà, c'est le quart d'heure de français qui commence. La leçon de français. Ne vous inquiétez pas, on va passer à l'anglais. Mais quand même, Socrate, malheureusement je ne maîtrise pas le grec, a dit ce que je sais, c'est que je ne sais rien. All I know is that I know nothing. À vrai dire, j'étais surpris d'avoir dans mon sac un savon irlandais. Je pensais que c'était le whisky, moi, en Irlande. Voilà, donc vous voyez, il y a encore à faire pour la science et apprendre. D'abord, first, thanks so much for having organized this timely session on marine knowledge for ocean health. And because if we are serious about ocean health today, then we must recognize that it's not just an environmental objective. It is fundamentally a knowledge challenge. It is about producing the science needed to protect the ocean's health. A challenge of how we observe, how we coordinate observation, and how we transform data into governance capacity. Over the past years, the European Union has made decisive progress in building the policy architecture required to manage the ocean as a global commons. Through the European Ocean Act announced at UNOC 3 in Nice last June, the forthcoming Ocean Act and the development of the EU Ocean Observation Initiative, Europe is now equipping itself with an integrated framework capable of linking ocean science, environmental protection, and sustainable economic use. But legislation alone does not produce knowledge. And knowledge does not emerge automatically from observation systems. It is produced through the sustained and coordinated deployment of exploration, I quote, and observation capacities at sea. And today, I should say, despite world-class infrastructure, including Copernicus Marine Service, EMODNET, and Mercator Ocean Digital Twin of the Ocean, Europe still faces structural observation gaps in deep sea ecosystems, a major issue because of the deep sea mining perspective for some countries, in biodiversity hotspots such as seamounts and submarine canyons, in polar oceans where climate feedbacks are accelerating implementation of the High Seas Treaty as well in areas beyond national jurisdiction. As you know, we will need very soon robust scientific baseline due to the fact we will have the first COP for the ocean in January next year. In parallel, observation and exploration efforts remain fragmented across sectors, institutions, and member states in Europe and beyond. Campaigns are often planned independently. Data are not always standardized from the outset, and scientific priorities are not systematically aligned with policy needs. As a result, we risk and we face entering a paradoxical situation in which our modeling capacities advance faster than the empirical knowledge required to sustain them. In other words, our digital twin of the ocean may become more precise, but not necessarily more complete. If ocean health is to be governed effectively, Europe must therefore ensure coherence across the entire marine knowledge value chain, from exploration to ocean observation, including through the IOC-led Global Ocean Observing System, to data integration, and to operational applications. This is the implementation challenge that now lies ahead of us. Moving from governance to delivery, moving from infrastructure to coordinated deployment, moving from data availability to policy relevant knowledge. Mission Neptune, la mission Neptune, launched in Nice at UNOX 3, was conceived precisely to address the implementation gap by connecting exploration, sustained observation, and data delivery across European and international partners. In line with the vision expressed by President Ursula von der Leyen for a stronger and more coherent European ocean observation capacity, la mission Neptune now stands ready to contribute as an operational pillar of the forthcoming EU Ocean Observation Initiative, supporting the coordinated deployment of campaigns at sea, the generation of harmonized and policy-relevant data set, and their integration into European marine knowledge systems such as Copernicus Marine Service, and ModNet, and the digital twin of the ocean. So our collective responsibility is to ensure that the ocean observation systems we are building are informed, the mission-driven, interoperable, and policy-oriented data collection efforts capable of supporting climate forecasting, biodiversity protection, marine spatial planning, and sustainable blue economy activities alike. So the Neptune mission, la mission Neptune, will be revealed in exactly 3 months on the 8th of June, World Ocean Day, at this occasion by the President Macron and major players in scientific exploration like James Cameron and Sylvia Earle, and also a lot of you probably, and I hope so, with the EU team. Strengthening coordination across European member states, their fleets, technologies, digital infrastructures, and international partnership will therefore be essential for all of us to reduce fragmentation, to close priority observation gaps, and to enhance Europe's strategic autonomy in ocean knowledge production. Marine knowledge is not simply about understanding the ocean, it is about enabling ocean health through informed, science-based, and operational decision-making. And this requires us collectively to ensure that the European Ocean Act and the EU Ocean Observation Initiative are supported by coordinated development capacities at sea, capable of translating policy ambition into shared, actionable knowledge. It is why I believe the Commission Ocean AI initiative with 50 million euros to kickstart, it was announced yesterday by President von der Leyen, will be a game changer. Europe is stepping up to challenge of science and knowledge about and for the ocean, for future generation. We can be proud of that. Now let's get to work to change the world and simply to protect the ocean. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, Olivier. Ce que je sais, c'est que je sais rien. I love this beginning. What I know is that I know nothing. What a great way to begin a session. Being humble, isn't it? And actually, you know, making sure that we're open to all ideas and to all philosophies and proposals. So thank you very much. Great. I was very interested in the Irish soap because be careful with that, because my family in Ireland tell me that Irish soap is not just for cleaning the body, it also cleans the insides. So the mind, the soul, and the heart. So it depends on whether you want to clean the insides or not. But be careful with the Irish soap, it's very strong. Olivier, thank you very much. Speaking about the international perspective of all of this, I'd like to now call on the head of the Ocean Observations and Services section at the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO. Joanna Post, warm round of applause, please. Thanks very much.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I have many hats. That's one description. The other hat that I am here representing is as director of the Global Ocean Observing System, GOOSE, of which EuroGOOSE, EUS is a part, and it's the regional part that is the European part of GOOSE. So we are really a global, coordinated international framework that's headed by the IOC, the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, that coordinates sustained ocean observations worldwide, connects national efforts into a unified system that delivers critical data for many, many things: weather forecasts, early warning systems, climate change monitoring, marine biodiversity, fisheries management, adaptation planning, strategic priorities, such as the digital twin of the ocean. And as my colleagues at Ditto know, when we share a platform together, that I often say that you can't Ditto without data. As highlighted yesterday by President von der Leyen, the more information we have about the ocean, the better we can safeguard its vast natural heritage and protect ourselves, both at land and sea. I also want to refer very much to a quote by Bertrand Russell, the 20th century Nobel Prize winner and philosopher, who once said that facts have to be discovered by observations, not by reasoning. And I think this resonates very much in our current day. We often see many opinions, but we have to realize that those opinions are not necessarily fact, and we have to base our decision-making on facts, on science, on observations. Everything begins with the observations and with observations data. GOOSE is based on 36 scientifically set essential ocean variables across different domains: physics, climate, biochemistry, biology, ecosystems. It integrates information from thousands of in-situ ocean observing platforms within 17 networks and many ocean observing communities, from autonomous floats and moorings, Argo, satellites, tide gauges, research vessels, eDNA collection, and so on, across the open ocean, into the deep sea, from the poles to the coastal areas. Today, the GOOSE framework delivers, it's not delivering enough. It delivers around a rough estimate, 60 to 70% of what is really required for a fully functional global ocean observing system. And more than half of that operational capacity is currently in the hands of one country. We need a much more equitable approach to that situation. There's an urgent need for nations to invest in GOOSE and its in coordination at the global level. Ocean data from systematic observations are the foundation for national and collective action and progress across many multilateral agreements, of which the EU and its member states are members, such as the BBNJ, Dualos, the Paris Agreement, the Global Biodiversity Framework, IMO and the London Protocol, and so on. So many operational systems are dependent on this ocean data, and investment is needed to enable a critical, sustainable observing system. I've started using that word, critical infrastructure, when it comes to the global ocean observing system, because at the moment it's reliant on the scientific community, on the scientific endeavor. And if we're serious about building a system that delivers to economic sectors, to safety, to security, as well as to science, we need to really think about how we are investing in that system at the political level. Investment must be more equitable, and we need it because it's really a case of not just doing the observation, collecting the data, but we need to co-design those observations as the raw ingredient for many value chains that provide the information for all of these application spaces, for risk management, marine protection, safety, biodiversity, positive, resilient communities, and so on. So we need to invest in ocean observing. We need to think about it as critical infrastructure, and we need a much more equitable approach to that investment. My second point really is, alongside the fact that everything starts with the ocean, is that we need to liberate the fair data for those essential ocean variables with clear standards, QA and QC. It's all about the data. We talk about observations, but it's ultimately the data that you need from those observations that are measured through those essential ocean variables to provide the science-based answers to the many challenges we're facing. It's a systems approach, and we need to support that systems approach, the global ocean data and information system, the metadata, the data requirements, the data quality assessment and control that's consistent for all use and users globally. We have to build on what already exists today. There are some great work going on in Europe with IMODNet, and we need to support also the Goose technical arm, Ocean Ops, which is setting the metadata standards for those and metadata passports for those networks, as well as coordinating and supporting national data centers to coordinate and provide interoperable exchange of data. We need to also empower equitable, federated global ocean digital ecosystem and the community itself. So we need to raise the level of data literacy globally towards a community that values data management and data sharing, build data literacy into careers. I know yesterday you talked about careers and the blue education space, and I think, you know, often science is merited for scientific endeavor, but there is a need to perhaps think about how we merit young scientists and scientific endeavor to include something that wasn't around 100 years ago, the ability to provide interoperable data to set standards. Sharing should not just be an afterthought for already very busy project managers and scientists. It should be part of the setup for the projects and programs themselves. So we must change the culture towards more open data sharing in all sectors. To do that, of course, we need the standards, the QA, the QC, but there is that opportunity now across industry, science, academia, and NGOs and governments to make data sharing as a valued product of research, as publishing a paper. None of this can be done without coordination. So Goose is coordinating at a global level, and we really need to invest in that global, regional, and national coordination, integration, and advocacy. So it's super important to emphasize, particularly in an environment where various organizations are calling for similar but separate observing and delivery systems, we have infrastructure that we can build and grow together and synergize. So as head of Goose, we provide the global coordination, but I need more people to help me do that. We have our regional alliances, such as Eurogoose. There are national committees, such as FRUS in France. And these mechanisms can improve and strengthen coordination and communication, integration, and advocacy to deliver the information and products into the decision-making frameworks at scale. So more and focused support would help us work on the disconnect between science and policy response. A final point from me is that the global ocean observing system has come a long way. We have come a long way in a short time. We started in 1991. So now there needs to be a paradigm shift. We must address the global needs and priorities, the specific application areas. We need to think about the system design, about setting up a basic network that delivers to these spaces. It is for the global good, but it's also for application spaces where we need to show value of investment in the actual observation and data itself. But existing systems are in jeopardy through strained funding, which in turn decreases our ability to provide the required spatially temporal resolved data, including connecting that information. So we need new approaches, build the workforce and the community, build synergies, unlock public, civil society, and private contributions. This includes coordinating consistency in sensors on vessels and other arrays for an unprecedented Goose data spatial temporal coverage lift and co-designed operational services. So through dialogue, sharing capacity between sectors, we must accelerate the development of efficient, resilient ocean observing infrastructure. So to end, there are some straightforward commitments, the vital need for countries to invest in coordination and coordinated approaches at country, regional, international level. There are many, I've been asked this by colleagues here at the European Commission, what are the things we can do? I could probably list many, many of them. I think it's exciting with the ratification of the BBNJ how important we need to think about investment in the bioeco community and the Ocean Biodiversity Information System, the OBIS, which is housed at IOC, and the opportunity that we could build a real hub of support for that work across the Goose and IOC and where I'm based. We can think about uniting to provide tide gauges with appropriate capacity development for the operational and data delivery worldwide for all nations to support early warning system. We can think about how to invest in Argo and One Argo. Dead areas in the ocean are a real concern, and yet putting oxygen sensors on the existing Argo arrays would deliver really vital information very quickly to provide us some much needed information about the state of the ocean. But there are many more examples. So let me just conclude by saying on behalf of the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, a thank you to President van der Leyen, Commissioner Cadiz, and members of the European Union and European Commission for setting up Ocean Eye, and delighted that we have this partnership to work together for the benefit of ocean observing and Goose. Ocean observing needs system resilience, not symbolism. New ideas should not take the place of investment in an existing system that delivers concrete value. Investing in sustained ocean observations is not optional. It's the foundation of effective economic policy, disaster risk management, ocean protection, and global leadership. Thank you very much.
Joanna, thank you very much. Interesting when you talked about data. At a lot of conferences that I go to, a lot of people are using the phrase data ocean. We talked for years about having a data lake, and now it's become so enormous, so much information coming at us. To interpret it, to sift through it, and to find out what's useful, people now refer to a data ocean. So that's interesting for our topic today. We thought this could be a great moment to get to know you better for our panelists, because we want to find out who's actually in the audience. And what we'd like to do is to use Slido. So this is the moment to get your telephones out. Hopefully you've got a good Wi-Fi connection. Slido.com. And the very first question is to find out what sector you are from. Who are you representing here today? And you have choices here. From which sector do you come from? Academia, straight away, 50%. Governmental institution, private commercial, an EU institution, an NGO. Let's see who is mostly in the room. And this is great for our panelists, so they know who they're talking to. Because maybe we need to avoid Euro Goose and EUS and all the other acronyms. Maybe not. It depends on what kind of audience we have. There'll be a quiz, by the way, at the end of these sessions on all of these different terms. So make notes, and there's a prize for the winner. Academia, 34%, 33%. Private commercial in second place. governmental institution, regional, national, local, 20%. NGOs, 16%. EU institutions, that's interesting. So a lot of research institutions, academia, so that's interesting for our panelists. Is that stabilizing now, the result? Any last-minute votes coming in? Perfect, 35%, and then 20%, roughly the same in second place, NGOs in third place. Interesting, so great to have that perspective. Perhaps it makes sense because we're here looking towards the future. How can we use research, etc., for finding the way forward? The second question, a little bit lighter. Why did you come to this session? Is it for learning? Is it for networking? Getting inspired? Or maybe I heard the food is good and the ambiance is great. Actually, we should add another option because the moderator is so handsome. But I think, yeah, I don't think someone's going to add that. 4% for the food. That's interesting. There was breakfast on offer this morning. Networking, 53%. Learning, 30%. Getting inspired, and that's always very interesting. A lot of these sessions are actually just about inspiration. Learning from others. 6% for the food is good. That's great for the organizers of the conference. A lot of pressure on us for the lunch. We're going to be having a coffee break for half an hour a little bit later. And we are saying during these sessions that the coffee break is also for networking. So the food and the coffee and the learning and the networking is all together. So great, 47% is for the networking, which is fantastic. And that's what it's all about, isn't it, Ocean Eye? Bringing people together, getting people talking. So great. And finally, just the last word, which is actually just great for us to know what you're expecting from this session. This is a word cloud, so the word in the middle that's the largest will be the top one. What is your main takeaway from the keynotes? What stood out for you? Was it the Irish soap? Was it je sais rien? I don't know anything. What was the main word for you? Networking? Was it collaboration? Was it the International Alliance? Here we go, we've got some answers coming in. Love and joy. I don't recall anybody talking about love and joy during the keynotes. It's interesting what we interpret. Networking, actionable data, Ocean Eye right in the middle. That'll be reassuring for those involved in the announcement yesterday. Observation, resilience, coordination, connection. Lots of these words. Of course, all of the different tools, eModNet. Together. Socrates, did somebody mention Socrates this morning? You're much better at taking notes than me. Mission Neptune, great. We don't see goose, and we don't see Euro goose, and we don't see EUS. So that's interesting. Yes, we do. Somebody's just put it in, goose. But collaboration, coordination, Ocean Eye, observation, some of the key words from the keynote. So I think in terms of communication, that's great. I think these were some of the main messages that came through. So without further ado, keeping in mind, these words and the expectations and who's in the room, what I'd like to do now is to open our first panel, of course, on ocean observation. The second panel afterwards will be focusing on data and the tools. But what I'd like to do is now call to the stage our first panel. So a warm round of applause. We'd like to welcome, first of all, Manfred Zeiler from Germany, the Federal Maritime and Hydrographic Agency, the German representative at the working group, the member state working groups on ocean observance, also a member of EUS, co-chair of the Science Advisory Working Group of Eurogoose. So Manfred knows all of these acronyms by heart. Also Laura Tuomi from the Finnish Meteorological Institute, head of Marine Research Unit and the Finnish representative in the Copernicus Marine National Stakeholder Forum. So welcome. Big round of applause for these two, first of all. And we also have with us Francesca Catini from the Italian Institute for Environmental Protection and Research, chair of TG Data, and also a program officer of IMAP, the info system developed under the framework of the UNEP MAP as well. Great to have you as well, Francesca. And to add to our panel, we also have today from the European Environment Agency, Jose Miguel Rubio Iglesias, coordinator of the in situ component within Copernicus. So welcome everybody, please take a seat where you can. Thank you very much. Warm round of applause. Let's start with Manfred, because these acronyms that we've been using this morning, we're becoming experts in these, do we say goose or is it goose, like the animal? Manfred, you have a lot of experience when it comes to this topic of environmental issues, when it comes to observation. As you know, as we mentioned in the introduction, you're a member of all of these different kinds of organizations to do with observation. And, you know, one of the key questions today as part of this panel is about the governance and having a framework for the coordination. And interesting to get your insight, your perspective on how you think this could work. What actually could we imagine in terms of a framework to improve Europe's ocean observing system? What's your vision? What do you have in mind?
Well, first of all, I would refer to yesterday's announcement of Ursula von der Leyen announcing Ocean Eye, and especially this increase in funding, which is a big step forward. But at the same time, this is a big challenge for us, because now there is even more an urgent need for governance and structure when it comes to European ocean observation. Why? The situation of today is that we have a very fragmented landscape in ocean observation, which has already been mentioned by Olivier and Joanna. What we need is, and this fragmentation comes from the bottom-up activities from all the different experts from the community. So what we now need is a top-down approach, and that means a leadership in the form of coordinating these different activities, these different approaches, to make the best use out of this big funding which has been announced yesterday, to be effective and do things better as we presently do.
And Manfred, you know, some people have talked about a bottom-up approach, maybe up until now, and, you know, then it's versus having a top-down approach. What are your thoughts on that in terms of the framework and how things will actually work?
Well, the top-down approach is something like the Commission has proposed in the different groups where I'm in, and that's the idea of a European Forum for Ocean Observation, which I highly support. When it is a forum which has a clear mandate and is able for decision-making. And that means this forum should be led by the Commission, and it should be substituted by the member states from high-level ministerial representatives who have a mandate for decision-making. Because that is what we needed. We have a lot of different options when it comes to spend the money. But from the expert view, we have to prepare a proposal about what is needed, where are the gaps. We need a prioritization of the gaps and the demands. And in the end of this process, we need a decision what shall be done, what is the most urgent need that has to be fulfilled. And we also have to keep in mind we have to consider the whole value chain, which had also been mentioned. And that means the stakeholders are not only agencies like my agency, but also marine research institutions, academia, but also the blue economy. And I was very happy about the composition of this audience, that marine industry is represented here quite a lot, because we need the suppliers of ocean observation technology to achieve the goal, of EU autonomy in ocean observation technology. So that also needs coordination, that also needs leadership, that needs smart management, and that is what I would address to top-down approach.
And of course, lots of different uses when it comes to ocean observation. And, you know, this panel, the topic is, you know, knowledge for ocean health. So just your perspective on how having this this structure of governance, this new framework, how that can really benefit ocean health, those who are looking for restoration, protection, sustainability?
I think there's still a lot of, we can still leverage synergies when it comes to ocean health and ocean observation. It's not like that we are doing nothing in this field, especially in Europe. We have committed by the directives, the Marine Strategy Directive, the Water Frame Directive, in safeguarding our oceans. However, we have not achieved the good environmental status. That's another story. But coming back to ocean observation, my experience is, at least in Germany, there are still some guys who cling very much to the measurements at sea, which is good, of course, but they are quite reluctant to some extent to other services like remote sensing and also modeling. And their main argument is, okay, we have this information, but how reliable it is. And when you talk to these guys from the Copernicus group in BSH or for the modelers, they say, yeah, we provide our results the best we can provide, but we can even do better if we have more data from the sea. And that's the point. We need more data, more measurements from the sea to provide better services and to use the full potential in Europe about our marine knowledge that we have. And there's still some, how to say, we can do it better. No?
Okay, and we'll come back to you later for your thoughts on what actually this governance framework would actually look like in real terms and concrete terms. Let's put the spotlight on the national perspective, because there's a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge within different countries. We have Laura from the Finnish Meteorological Institute. You've been doing a lot of work. You've developed your own expertise within your institute. Representative for Finland as well, Laura, with the Copernicus Marine National Stakeholder Forum. The tools that you've designed, the knowledge you've gathered, how can we make sure, how can we integrate that into this new ocean observation framework? How's that going to happen?
Okay, thanks for the question. And I think we've heard a lot about the fragmentation, silos, and need of coordination. Of course, that exists. We need more coordination. But I like this question because there's a lot of expertise, there is a lot of knowledge, a lot of best practices, a lot of coordination also at place, both nationally and regionally. Of course, if we consider the national systems, there is a large diversity. There might be different focuses on the national systems, different maturity levels, but there definitely is a lot of best practices to share. And there exists also coordination in several countries. As an example from Finland, can say that we have, the observations are made by several different institutes. And we have, for over a decade now, had a Finnish Marine Research Infrastructure Consortium, which unites the operators that are observing both for monitoring, research, operational oceanography, and there we can share knowledge over the disciplines, over the organization, and also together design the future observing systems sort of in a coordinated way, taking account all the different observation parameters that we need. And I think several examples exist in several different European countries which we can use as basis when we build the systems. And then if we go to the regional levels, we of course have these regional sea conventions, for example HELCOM, which coordinate the monitoring in the areas. But then I would like to come back to these UCs. So GOOS, Eurogoose, EOS have been mentioned, but under Eurogoose we also have the regional systems, the UCs. And for example, the BOOS for the Baltic Sea, where I'm working actively. And there we are also doing a lot of work of the sharing information, coordinating. And for example, for BOOS, we have been sharing data already before the Inspire directives, already before the open data, because it has been seen important for development of the forecasting system, the early warning systems. So a lot of actions have been in place for decades. And even now we are together planning the future systems, and I'll take an example from the Argo program that actually I think Joanna mentioned. So we have a Baltic Argo program. We started experimenting Argo floats in the Baltic Sea a bit over a decade ago, found them applicable, and now we're at the phase where we have several partners operating, and we have started discussing, of course, together also with the EuroArgo ERIC, how to optimize the measuring in the Baltic Sea, how to coordinate it, how to share the work so that it's done in a cost-effective way. So a lot of these kind of things happening also on the regional level. Then at the last points, I could mention this Copernicus Marine User Forum. And I think it's a bit of a different approach, and there it's possible for the member state to really bring out the user needs for the services, to raise up issues, maybe concerns related to quality or how to use the systems and get some support. And that is also a way for us to sort of evolve the services so they actually really fit to the user needs, whether it's governmental or the private sector or for whichever it is needed.
Okay, so we're adding to the acronyms the regional observation system, so ROOS as well. Laura, maybe, and we're going to be asking you later for your thoughts on what would this governance framework look like. But just from your experience in terms of strategies, lots of lessons learned, what would you share with us, this panel, this audience, about the main lesson that you've learned, that you would take to the table when you're having discussions about this new Ocean Eye system?
Well, I think it's a lot about this coordination that has already been mentioned, and also acknowledging the already existing ones and how they have developed, because it's not only based on success stories, it's also based a lot on the sort of challenges, the mistakes that we have, and also like sharing that to build together the systems.
Okay, Laura, thank you very much. We mentioned earlier that Francesca was the chair of TG Data for MSFD, which of course is the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. And Francesca, maybe we can start with a question about that. Coordination of ocean observance. How can we actually use that to improve, for example, things like the implementation of MSFD, for example, and I'm sure there are other things that you need to implement. How can we bring this all together?
Yes, from a technical and operational perspective, coordinated ocean observation can improve marine strategy when coordination is translated into aligned monitoring protocols and harmonized data models, shared semantic standards, and interoperable infrastructure, because this is what enables a more coherent marine environmental assessment and helps support ocean health. From the Italian perspective, marine strategy monitoring and reporting are supported by the centralized national information system designed to manage structured data across the different marine strategy descriptors. And this system is being re-engineered to improve the data workflows, the usability and interoperability through application programming interfaces, and the alignment with the European Spatial Data standards. So the objective is not only to ensure a compliant reporting, but also to enable an effective reuse and integration of the monitoring data with the other regional and European platforms. Instead, at a regional level, I think that Barcelona Convention is already a well-established example of how governance can support harmonization and upstream harmonization. Indeed, under the Integrated Monitoring Assessment Program, contracted parties have already agreed common indicators, methodological guidances, and so these allow an harmonization come upstream. And of course, this regional governance supports a structured and shared and comparable assessment across different countries, and contributes to the assessment of the Mediterranean Sea. So I think that this kind of upstream governance can support harmonization up and hill rather than trying to fix things afterwards. And of course, at the same time, we are going to do a work on the IMAP info system, that is the regional platform through which the contracted parties could submit officially their data. And a last point is that I think that coordinated option observation can help also us to prioritize what really need to be mandatory for marine strategy as monitoring data, because focusing on a well-established and standardized set of data but often works better than try to expand the list of required variables, because it can be difficult to populate consistently. So a smaller but well-standardized core set of data can lead to a more complete, comparable, and usable information for marine strategy assessment.
Yeah, so lots of data. So standardization, harmonization, already this challenge regional to national. Will it be an easy step to take it further? Is it going to be a challenge, or is it a natural step for you?
I think that is a challenge, but we have to do this challenge because it's difficult now, but easier for the future.
Okay, and we'll come back to you also later just for your vision of what the governance framework could look like. Let's turn to Jose from the European Environment Agency, of course, a very important player when it comes to all of this. And you're coordinating the in-situ component of Copernicus, so several Earth system domains. We can talk about the atmosphere, land, and of course the ocean, Jose. What do you think that the marine community, all of us here in the room, can actually learn from the other in-situ communities that maybe you've been involved with?
Thank you, Seamus, and thank you for the invitation as well to be here. Just before replying to your question, just to clarify a bit what is actually the role of the EA in Copernicus. We heard from Christoph Kautz, Copernicus being the largest Earth observation program in the world. Extremely successful, but this success will not be possible without, of course, the Sentinel, the work, amazing work that the different services across the different domains are doing, but also very importantly as well, thanks to the observations on the ground. And when I say observations on the ground, it's also on the ocean, it's on the land, also on the atmosphere. And the EA has a role of coordinating, having an overview of how all these different systems are contributing to the program. Not entering into the daily operations. For example, we have the colleagues from Mercator Ocean, which are getting access to the necessary in situ data for their activities. This role actually gives us a very nice comparative view of the different domains that are contributing to Copernicus, as you mentioned, atmosphere, land, and ocean, of course. I would say that across the different domains, in particular when it comes to in situ observations, all of them face very similar challenges. Governance complexity, because in situ communities, not only in the ocean, in all the different domains, is full of different actors, data providers, research, academia, public, private actors. Sustainability of networks, we have seen that today we have 50% of the attendees coming from research. Of course, in many cases, these networks are funded through projects which have a beginning and an end. And this is a challenge, particularly for Copernicus, which is an operational activity, an operational program. And then this richness of actor, which for me is also a blessing, is also, of course, when it comes to standardization, interoperability, getting access to the data. All these three common challenges, yeah, they all belong to all the different areas. But when it comes to specific and what, for example, the marine community could learn or could see from other communities, I was thinking particularly on two interrelated areas, particularly atmosphere, where I can see a much more closer link to the policy mandates and also the importance that they give to timeliness of getting access to the data. But I also wanted to think a bit more about meteorology. And in meteorology, I would say this is the most mature environmental observation community, let's say, globally. They have a clear mandate at national level. They work systems at 24/7. They are funded as a critical infrastructure. And they have a very well-defined exchange obligations, thanks to WMO. So I think there, and of course, this brings more, let's say, security when it comes to funding streams, long-term sustainability, and very importantly, stronger political legitimacy. That I think ocean could advance, or is advancing on that, but we are not yet there. But of course, I didn't want to establish any kind of hierarchy of communities, and I think the richness of the marine community is great in bringing out all this kind of multi-actor governance that I think other communities could also learn from research, industry, operations, and of course as well different other elements, like for example the ecosystem level integration that the marine community has vis-a-vis other areas where are more variable focus. So I think, let's say, all the different communities have strengths that they can contribute, and they are contributing now to the success of Copernicus.
Okay, Jose, thanks very much. We are going to be asking some Slido questions to get your views on what are going to be some of the challenges. I thought actually perhaps we could do that now, and actually so that it would give a chance for our panel to actually respond to some of the words and some of your ideas. Maybe we could launch our first Slido question, which you see here. What's the biggest barrier to implementing a coordinated ocean observation system? And I'll give the panel a chance to react. Are we surprised by some of the key words? Data sovereignty coming up, so don't hesitate to use your phones. Tell us the word that you think represents the biggest barrier to implementing a coordinated ocean observation system. The political will. Interesting. Will this correlate with what we're going to hear from the panel when they're giving us their vision of the future governance? Funding. Manfred already talked about funding. The 50 million already set aside. Ursula von der Leyen announcing that yesterday. Data sovereignty. Lots of keywords coming here. Funding right in the middle. Data sovereignty, funding, political will. So yes, the sharing of data across national borders. Could be an issue, yes, something that will have to be negotiated. Breaking the silos, coordination, in situ data validation, trust, communication, keyword for me, attitudes to metadata, the data lake becoming the data ocean, sustainable infrastructure. Take a note, our dear panelists, of some of these keywords right in the middle: funding, data sovereignty, trust, political will, fragmentation. That was a keyword that Delila talked about in her opening remarks. Political trust. So those words in the middle. So thank you very much for that. Let's also ask another question that our panelists can respond to. And let's just let that stabilize. Take photos of that, by the way, if anybody wants to take a selfie. Well, not a selfie. Take a photo of that, just so you can take that away with you. I can stand up if you want me to be in the selfie in the photo. So great, let's go to the second question, which is, what is for you the most relevant benefit in having a structured and transparent governance coordination framework for ocean observation? And here you have choices. So we'll see the percentages. What would be the most relevant benefit in having a structured, transparent governance coordination framework for ocean observation? This is very interesting for those who are going to be organizing all of the discussions and bringing all of this together. 27% so far. Top is reduce. Oh, no, it's changing as we speak. We'll let it stabilize a little bit. So dear panelists, make a note of what the results are. How exciting to have this kind of quiz. Anticipation for what are going to be the results. Shared standards, way down the bottom. More and better data. Number one, though, observation consistency and coherency. What does that mean for the panel when we see the words consistency and coherency? A fit-for-purpose EU ocean observing system. What does that mean for the panel when we see that result? 36% observation consistency, coherency. Reducing the costs, increasing collaboration. We saw that in the word cloud before, funding was quite high up. Here it's about in third place. Data down the list and shared standards. I think that's stabilized enough. So top is observation, consistency, and coherence. Manfred, your on-the-spot reaction to some of these results, first of all.
Thanks. Well, I would pick up political will from the first question. From my perspective, we need a legal-based ocean observation, the same way as we already have for meteorology. In Germany, we have the German Weather Service Act. So the agency is collecting data based on a legal basis. They are required by law to collect data. And therefore, they are so sufficient. And that's exactly the same we need for the ocean. The difference is it's much more costly to go for data out at sea. In this context, I want to emphasize we should make a difference when we talk about ocean observation. What do we mean with ocean observation? When I, coming from an agency, talk about ocean observation, I'm talking about systematic observation. I'm talking about monitoring. We also have long-term observations by marine research institutions, which are project-funded. This is something we should really rethink. Is this the right, effective approach? I say no, we should do better. And then we have this very big contribution by marine research by collecting data during their project, which is non-systematic but extremely valuable, especially beyond the areas of national jurisdiction where us, the agencies, are not present. So most of the data from the open sea comes from marine research. And this is important from my perspective when we talk about coordination. I see coordination for this systematic observation. Marine research as such should be free. It is of high value in our constitutions. We should not coordinate or ask marine research institutions to go out in their project somewhere in the sea to collect data because we need it. Here we need another approach to make that very clear. And coming back to the second question, I mean, what was the first one?
And the top one was
coherence,
consistency and coherence.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to address with this difference in observation. We should really make this difference to be precise and effective in the end, not to mix up these things, because then we are in some misunderstanding, and that's what we should avoid.
Okay, and we'll finish the session with your vision of what the governance framework will look like. Laura, your on-the-spot reaction to these results.
Okay, I will, from the first one, big funding. And I think many of the national systems are struggling now even to maintain the present observing systems. And when we are building this new European level systems and governance, then the second one, there was this cost-effective or instrumentation and then coordination. And I think that is like really important, that we can, for example, in the regional level, coordinate who does what is most cost-effective way to do that. And then to the instrumentation, we need to find ways to do it more cost-effectively with new sensors, with new automated devices. And there I also think that funding plays a role in bringing these new measurement methods to the readiness level that they can be used in the monitoring program. And there I would also like to see that it would happen faster than it's happening now.
Okay, Laura, thanks very much. And don't forget, during the networking coffee, you can continue discussions with our panelists. So don't hesitate to approach them if you want to ask them further questions, especially if you voted for the funding question. Francesca, any surprised by the results you saw?
For me, as I said, coordination has to support the interoperability across the system. So for me, to have a consistency across the data, it means that the system has to talk each other so that we can reuse the data already collected. And so the cost of this operation is less. So it's also linked to the funding.
Yeah, because systems talking to each other, but across national borders. Data sovereignty, that was an issue as well. Is that something that you've been thinking about? Will that be a challenge in the future as well?
Yes, in the national centralized system, we are engineered to try to fix this problem, the interoperability with the other platforms, also with the API, as I said before.
Yep, so that will be a work in progress, I can imagine, for most countries in the European Union. Jose, so your reaction to these results?
Yes, to the first question, which I would turn around and would say which would be the enablers for this ocean observation coordination. Definitely political will, as Manfred has mentioned, I think is fundamental. But of course, it needs to come together with funding. And when I think about funding, of course, we cannot forget how important is the research community for the ocean observations. But it needs to go beyond that, and we need also to ensure sustainable data funding streams. And then when it comes to what will be the benefit, actually most of the questions are very much interrelated. If we want to have a fit for purpose, which from the Copernicus perspective, that's what we would like to have, ocean observation, let's say, which are fit for our operational activities. We need to make sure that these observations are consistent, that are coherent. We need to make sure that the data is accessible, that they are standardized. So I would say it's difficult for me to choose one of them.
Easier said than done, isn't it, to talk about consistency and coherency?
Definitely.
So work in progress on a lot of those issues. And listen, what we'd like to do now is turn the spotlight really onto ocean health, because it's about the observation systems, using that for ocean health. Manfred, so your vision, what for you would actually be the ideal, the perfect governance framework, observing system? What for you, really, if you actually had to put that into a nutshell?
Very quick on the European level, I would like to go for this European Forum, as described some minutes ago, led by the Commission and supported by high ministerial representatives of the member states. That's what I think is necessary on the European level, but we also need some action on the level of the member states. And Laura presented the system in Finland. We in Germany are also quite well organized, but it does not fit really to ocean observation. We have a very competent group dealing with the implementation of the MSFD. We have now only one association or alliance for marine research. They are connected, but we could do better. And what I mean is we need integrated ocean observation systems in the member states. Also in the member states, to a different extent, we need more coordination. We have not one model for that. That based on the situation in each member state. But also there, we need this cross-sectoral coordination and cooperation to do better and to achieve the goal.
Is there actually a model for that? Is there a model that we can look towards, or we'll have to create something?
I think this is makes not very sense, because the member states are different organized. So that should be on their sovereignty, on their competence. They themselves know better how to do it best. So I don't want to go for a European model for the member states.
Okay, so that'll be negotiated. Laura, so same question to you. What's your ideal EU ocean observing system? What does it look like? How does it work?
Hey, thanks. I agree a lot with Manfred. We need this like high-level coordination, and of course the national coordination as well. But I would bring to this also including the regional sort of coordination, engaging the regional sea conventions that exist, and of course think to the areas where they are not yet in place, how that could be done, because the regional cooperation in the marginal seas, that's really important in having the sort of optimal, cost-effective way to do things. And of course that can be also communicated on the member state level, but sort of engaging the regional sector would be nice.
And any ideas on how we can bring that to the table, the regional perspective, how that can be incorporated into this process?
Yeah, if we have this kind of forum, they could be like invited as observers, or then there could be like several like meetings where this kind of networking, engaging, getting the information could be done. So I think there are several different ways to do that.
And around you, do you get the feeling that people are optimistic, that people are, looking forward to this, or are people a little bit nervous, a little bit hesitant?
I think both. I think it's really good that Europe is putting so much like emphasis on the ocean and the Ocean Eye discussion about the funding, and at the same level, of course, as representatives of National Institute, we are thinking that, well, what that then means for us, for observing. So if we have good actions, good best practices already existing, are we able to continue that, or will something else come to the place?
Okay, Laura, thanks very much. Same question to you, Francesca. So what's your ideal, your perfect governance framework for this observation system for Europe?
The ideal European ocean observation system for me is not a new centralized system, but a federated and interoperable network made on the existing regional and national frameworks. The key point is that this should not result in an additional monitoring and reporting obligation for member states, but the priority is to prioritize a coordination, upstream coordination, so that the existing reporting system could effectively work together. So I think that many of the reporting systems, regional and national level, are already operational. So the added value is to make them interoperable. And so I think that also in this broader need for a stronger interoperability is emerged also in the last year during the work done during the Marine Strategy Technical Group on Data, where as co-chair we have tried to look at whether existing regional sea convention and other European platforms can be used to support the Marine Strategy. And what we have observed is very often is interoperability. The limit of this interoperability is a technical and semantic limit, and also by varying level of alignment with ISPIRE. At this point, for example, under Barcelona Convention, the ISPIRE compliance is not formally required. But the ongoing work done on the AMAP info system shows us that the strong standardization is essential to ensure also the interoperability So we expect that, for example, the European level governance can play a facilitating role for a technical coordination across between marine strategy and the regional sea convention to this point. And I think that once this interoperable network is in place, the benefit is that the already collected data can be more easily used, analyzed for a better overview of the marine ecosystem, also including through an Ocean Health perspective. So Ocean Health can function as an integrated assessment lens across different indicators and data sets, enabling a better, broader use and a better interpretation of the already collected data.
And similar question to Laura, around you at your institute and in some of the working groups you're involved in, what's the overall feeling, with this topic of having an umbrella ocean eye, for example? Are people optimistic? Are people a little bit hesitant? Is it going to be easy? What are people saying around you?
We know that this work has to be done because it's essential, as I said. So I don't think that nobody at national, regional level thinks that this is an easy work to do, but we have to sit and talk and discuss with the other to try to understand what we have to do to reach this objective.
And the ocean health component, that's seen as something crucial, it's seen as an important part of this system?
Yes, of course, because as I said, to have an overview, an integrated vision of the ecosystem, of the marine ecosystem, is fundamental to look at the different domain, biodiversity, contaminants, and so on, integrated to have a real overview of the marine ecosystem.
Okay, Francesca, thanks very much. Let's go to Jose. So your ideal system, the governance, the framework for this umbrella system.
Thank you. I will repeat a bit what our first speaker mentioned in the beginning. For me, the ideal system is the one that covers the entire value chain, from ocean observations to data access infrastructure to delivery to operational services. And I have three main elements that I would like to emphasize what I think it will be the ideal. It's a bit related to what the colleagues in the panel have mentioned. I think it needs to be a connected, interoperable ecosystem rather than creating a fully new structure. We have great capacities already in the member states. We also need to think about research infrastructures as well. We have a number of networks, and particularly I would like to mention, and again with the acronyms, the EOS to support the coordination. Of course, we have IMOTNET, the In Situ Marine Data Service, and the Copernicus Marine Service, delivering operational products for the ocean health. The second element, particularly thinking about an operational program like Copernicus, is that the governance needs to be requirement-driven. We need to make sure that it translates operational needs into prioritization of observations. It needs also to improve the data flows, particularly to make sure that the data it can be used for our modeling activities, for the creation and the production of our ocean health indicators, and also because we need to focus on closing critical gaps, and the French envoy already mentioned some of them, the deep sea habitats, the Arctic, as well as biodiversity, biochemical observations. These are elements that this governance should foster. And finally, and that's something that we all have in our minds these days, needs to be resilient and future-oriented. We need to make sure that it strengthens long-term sustainability of the networks. It needs to support innovation, also making sure that our industry also is involved in the uptake by industry, and involvement in ocean observation technologies, and also, of course, to ensure the capacity of Europe in observing the ocean and be independent, autonomous, independent, of course, with the collaboration with our allies, to be able to observe the climate, pollution, biodiversity pressures. I would just like to conclude as well with a couple of words more related to our work in Copernicus, particularly in the situ component, because this ocean observation initiative, Ocean Eyes, come at a very great moment as well for us who are finalizing what we call the Copernicus in situ component strategy, which is defining key strategic areas for the future of Copernicus in the next multi-annual financial framework. And definitely many of the elements that this observation initiative contains, it really resonates very well into our Copernicus in situ strategy. So we are really looking forward to see this happening in the future.
Okay, Jose, thank you very much. We have about 5 minutes left before the coffee break, before the networking break. What I'd like to do, and I'm going to throw this upon you, I'm sorry about this, but I call this the magic wand question. We did this yesterday. Sometimes we also call this the elevator pitch. We have 1 minute. Our key takeaway, our priority, if you had a magic wand otherwise, what would you fix tomorrow or immediately today? Okay, so it's your key takeaway after this panel, maybe also reinforcing what we heard from the audience. Manfred, can I come to you first of all on this? It doesn't have to be long, so about a minute each. Manfred.
Well, getting your point right, I would go for the European Forum. That is a starting point for the whole process. Huh? And that needs designing the terms of references, what is really the task of this forum, and what are the follow-up actions. So this is hard work. It's not an easy task.
But we're feeling optimistic. The sleeves are rolled up, Manfred.
Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Laura, if you had a magic wand, what would you fix straight away? What's your priority? Key takeaway from all of this?
I think there are many things, but I'll come back to the Slido and what I picked there, and that is funding and at all levels. So maintaining the present systems, having enough funding to find the optimal ways to do this in the future, having enough funding for building the European infra to have the new measurement devices, have the structures that we need to have for this.
Okay, Laura, thanks very much. Francesca, I'm giving you the magic wand. What is your wish?
I think I'll try to do what I explained. So I try to discuss with the other person that I know that are involved in the network, in other reporting systems, so to try to fix what I say.
Okay, and so that'll start during the coffee break, during the networking break. So hopefully you've got your list of people to contact here in the room. Francesca, thanks very much. Jose, for you, if I give you a magic wand.
I think with the Ocean Observation Initiative, we seem to have the political will. So I will repeat what Laura mentioned, and I will mention now funding. But again, as also she mentioned, funding at different level. Of course, funding in research is essential, but also sustainable funding for operations. I think that is critical for delivering operational ocean services.
Is there anything particular about the funding? Is it like the long term? Is it making sure that
definitely long term. I think that is where my magic wand will go.
Okay, we'll see if we can sort something out, if I can give you your wish. Jose, thank you very much. And listen, let's keep the conversation going. So during the networking coffee break, don't hesitate to approach our panelists. I think I can say that. You're all happy to be approached by people in the audience. So thank you very much. A warm round of applause for our panel. So thank you very much, and don't forget that after the coffee break, we have about 30 minutes, we will be delving into the complex topic of data and applications as well. Also, don't forget, during the breaks today, we have the Sea of Sounds, the virtual reality demonstration in room 7, and you've got to go up the stairs, the silver stairs. Be careful when you're walking up those stairs as well. And also in room 1, you have Sounds of the Ocean, which is an audio experience. So thank you very much. Enjoy your coffee. See you in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a good chance for a nice, strong coffee to add some energy for our next panel, or a cup of tea, and there were croissants and little things from breakfast left over, which is always great to add some energy as well. I saw a lot of networking going on. I heard lots of gooses and EUSes and RUSes, lots of acronyms as well, the Euro Goose as well, so that was great to see. And it all starts here, doesn't it? It starts with the simple conversations. It's also great to see some of the connections being made between people from different countries, etc. So now, as promised, we want to drill down into some of the points we talked about with a special focus on data and also the applications, so more of the science when it comes to ocean health. So how can ocean data and the applications supported by the European Commission, the services, the assets, how can that support ocean health? So really a focus on that for the next panel. We're going to be using Slido as well, so don't forget the Wi-Fi and the password code for the end of the session. We want to get your feedback on what is a key takeaway for you, so don't hesitate to try to identify a phrase or a word that you hear during this panel. So let's call our panelists to the stage for this focus on ocean data applications. Let's first of all call on from Finland, Jan Ekebom, from the Ministry of the Environment of Finland, Senior Ministerial Advisor. Warm round of applause. Great, take any seats. Finland nicely represented on these panels. We had Laura from the earlier panel as well. And I know that there's negotiation and coordination already going on just moments before this panel between Jan and with Laura as well, who we heard on the first panel. Also, David Reed, International Council for the Exploration of the Sea, Chair of the Science Committee. Round of applause for David, please. Welcome, David. Also, Joanna Beja from the Marine Institute at the Flanders Marine Institute, Senior Scientific Data Officer, Coordinator of the Biology theme of EMODNet. So welcome to you as well, Joanna. And also we have Stefano Ciavata, correct me for my pronunciation. I should have checked during the coffee break, during the networking. Mercator Ocean International, Head of Marine Ecosystem Services. And I know Stefano was asking me about my name, how to pronounce my name. So I should have asked you about your surname as well. You'll correct me in just a moment, Stefano. Thanks very much. And last but not least, yes, warm round of applause for Stefano as well. And we also have Anders Eriksson, from Danish Hydraulic Institute, Director of the Global Environmental Sciences theme within the Marine and Coastal Global Business Unit. Ander, thank you very much. Great to have all of you. So thank you very much. And actually, I was speaking about the connection between Jan and Laura in Finland when it comes to some of these topics. And perhaps we can start with you, Jan, because you have a lot of experience working at the Ministry of the Environment in Finland when it comes to all of this. We know that we already have expertise. We heard that. Also, when it comes to what Laura was talking about, the expertise, some of the systems. Jan, we know that when it comes to marine coastal protection, you already have some initiatives in place. For example, VELMU. You'll explain what this is for us, the Marine Inventory Program, and also an initiative called PASARA, which is a data system, the PASARA data system. So lots of experience in managing data. You already have, initiatives underway in place. Just explain these for us, Jan, these initiatives, the links to the European Union, the links to the tools on offer by the European Union, and also, maybe some of the challenges, some of the lessons learned at the national level when it comes to this collection of data, using these initiatives, and how you've been able to overcome those. Jan.
looks like we're going to be here all day with having me first. But good morning to everybody, and also a special thanks to DG Mare as well as DG Environment for inviting me here. That's very kind. Thank you. And about Velmu, which is the Finnish inventory program for marine diversity. And it's not marine biodiversity alone, it's also geodiversity. And we set it up some 3 years ago, and it began in 2004 officially. And we have now more than 200,000 inventory points along our coast from our territorial waters mainly. And we are also in the pipeline a plan to start doing the same in our EEZ. And so how is it possible that we have been doing this for more than 20 years? Because it's not just the funding, which is of course good and important. It is the way we have been able to use that information. It is always the use of the information that's the driver of all kinds of investments in ocean data and observation systems and data systems. And we are using that for maritime spatial planning. That was the first, but also nature conservation planning. So where should we have our MPAs? But that type of data that we have, you can use for a plethora of different purposes. And also, if you start to look carefully on it, we have innovations coming in because we have that data. We think we are pretty good for a small country and also in environmental modeling. And also, we have built some of the systems ourselves, so that's very good. So more than, actually, I think it's 300 persons by now that has been involved somehow, employed in Velmu, me included. And so it has also an educational purpose for marine biologists or marine geologists or fisheries experts. So it's been a very good program. But all that data we are using for different purposes. It's going to OBIS, and through OBIS is coming to EMODNet. So there you get the species data in. Geological data directly comes into it's our geological surveys of Finland that actually were quite early on involved in EMODNet. Henry Vallius, my good old friend from the Nature Club when I was a kid, believe it or not. And then this data it has a system of its own. But then for other types of marine data, you mentioned Pisara. Pisara is something that we started to build 7 years ago, and it now holds all our Marine Strategy Framework Directive data as well as Water Framework Directive data in the same system, in 3 languages. So Finnish, Swedish, our national languages, as well as English, which makes it already set up for delivering data for European systems. And that's what we would like to do very much, because then we would apply the principle of collect once, use many times. I'm going to stop there, not taking all morning, but thank you very much.
I was going to say, Jan, has it been easy? Has it been easy, you know, making sure that things are linked up with the tools within the European Union as well?
No. But the thing is that if it looks easy, it only means that we have been training the famous Beatles bands 10,000 times, and then you're an expert in something, successful in something. So I think that in many ways, doing it repeatedly over many years fine-tunes the way we do it.
Okay, Jan, thanks very much. Well, staying on this topic of data sets, managing of data sets. David, International Council for the Exploration of the Sea, you're managing an enormous amount, I can imagine, of data sets related to the marine environment. How are you doing that? What actually do you manage in terms of data? And also, you know, same question about the challenges to how we're collecting that data, how we're preserving the data, interpreting as well, and then using that for ocean health. And also, you know, making sure that we're respecting also just the general terms of fisheries management, for example. David.
Thank you very. Is that working? Yeah. Okay, I'll start by telling you that my background is an ecosystem-based fisheries management scientist, and I was asked a question about data, and I know nothing about data management, so I'm going to switch the question around. But I will tell you a wee bit about our data holdings, which, as you said, are extensive. A lot of them are based on in situ observations, so we draw down satellite data and we draw down other global sources. But our in situ observations are things like fisheries independent data, which comes from surveys, and I'll return to that. Fisheries dependent data, which is what the fishermen tell us they do, which is often not necessarily quite correct. And then includes things like biodiversity data, contaminants data, litter data, even oceanography. All these are done in situ, so you need research vessels to do it. The other key thing to these data holdings is that we're talking about time series that go back sometimes many decades. And you need those time series, A, to establish a baseline to understand what's happening, and then B, to understand change that you're seeing at the same time. I want to throw in a quick comment here. In the first presentations, the word data was used 1 million times. The word knowledge was used maybe twice or 3 times. Olivier actually referred to this. And I think the key thing is that data does not represent knowledge. It represents the source that you use to generate knowledge, and then understanding, and then maybe wisdom. I'm sorry, I'm sounding like Buddha now. So the challenges in all this in situ data collection are that the ocean's changing very fast. And by that I mean it's now no longer a big open plain where we can do what we like, or indeed where the fishermen can do what they like. There are offshore wind farms, there are marine protected areas, there are other places we can't go. And that increasingly is compromising our ability to collect data on fish stocks, on other biota. So now we've got these wind farms set up, and the environment will change inside those wind farms. There'll be more of some fish, less of others. Equally, it'll change outside because all the fishing pressure is moving to one place. And that makes it very difficult to do what is still ICE's core work is advising on the fish stocks. I'll switch over to ecosystem-based fisheries management now because I know about that. The rest of the stuff I don't know. All this is, all the data that we have been talking about, both the in situ I've discussed, but also the satellite data, the massive data holdings in Copernicus, EMODNet. We use those regularly in the context of developing food web models and ecosystem models, which not only allow us to understand what's going on, but project it into the future. So that can and does use both these wide-ranging remote sensing and also wide-ranging in situ. One of the other challenges to that, to having that data going into our model, is that because of that massive dependence on in situ data, we need research vessels, or we need alternatives to research vessels. And things like the ORE are expanding so fast that we're losing these areas before we can work out how to develop a new technology to go into them. So the actual observation technology is a problem as well. I want to finish with one more point, is that it's actually becoming very difficult to recruit young scientists into what we do, ecosystem-based fisheries management, for instance. We end up making it look more interesting with climate change and other things as a factor. But we really do need a policy and an approach that encourages young scientists to continue in the field and do not nail them to 3 or 4 year terminal postdocs, and that goes on forever. We need to find a way of getting the people to generate the knowledge from the data. I'll finish there.
Yep, David, thanks very much. Yeah, so when we use the word manage, maybe it's just, managing, dealing with, getting our heads around data. Lots of organizations, people would say that it's not even being managed, that it's data available to everybody How do we interpret that, David? Is it easy for you, making use of that data in your everyday work, finding the use of it? Because there's so much coming in, interpreting, sifting through it, and actually working out what's useful and what's not.
Yeah, that is a real difficulty. I wouldn't describe it as a data ocean, it's a data tsunami, and I often feel buried in it. And the classic example is working with oceanographers, or indeed the satellite did, but oceanographers particularly, who can tell you the temperature in every meter down through the water column 10 times a minute and over years and years, terabytes of data. We're collecting fish data once a year in one place. So it's really difficult to parse those two things together. That's one of our experiences. But yeah, also, as mentioned, there's not a lot of harmonization or standardization. So, for instance, trying to get primary productivity data from satellites I've been given 3 different versions of that by 3 different agencies. So, yeah.
So that's going to be something we're going to have to look at in the future. So David, thank you very much. And I've made a note of that term, data tsunami, adding that to the list. And there seems to be a consensus on that in lots of organizations, how to deal with the enormous amount coming through. Joanna from the Flanders Marine Institute. I'm not sure whether I say Joanna or Joanna. Yeah, it is Joanna. Yes. So lots of biological aspects of ocean health receiving a lot of attention when it comes to legislation. We talked before in the previous panel about the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. Biodiversity beyond national jurisdictions. The nature restoration regulations as well. Joanna, what is your take on, on EMODnet, the role that it's playing at the moment? What role could it play in the future, for example, when it comes to implementing this broader, this larger process of decision making?
Well, I have to say that we have 2 thematic lots that have well-established support data flow in collaboration with the member states when it comes to MSFD and the MSP. Those are chemistry and human activities. Unfortunately, this is not the same case for other disciplines within EMODnet. We know what the constraints are, both on the member state side, also on the EMODnet side. So in order for us as in EMODnet, the EMODnet network, to better support the member states, to better support DGM, EEA with their work, we need to scale up our operations. That comes at a cost, of course, financial cost, human resources cost, technical cost, and that's what we are working towards. We're not there yet, but hopefully we will in the very near future. I would also like to say that, and just to make it quite clear, EMODnet has its own remit in ensuring that marine data are available to all users. We are working collaboratively with the EU institutions, and there is no overlap in what we do when compared with what DGM and the EEA have to do in their work. So our aim is very much towards supporting the member states, not only by integrating their data flows that originate from the reporting that they have to do for the various directives, but also in providing data for their work. So it's a two-way kind of process. And I think that's the collaboration. That was one of the keywords as well in the previous word cloud. I see EMODnet as a collaborative service that really aims to support the EU with its data requirements for the assessments. We know that There was a study a few years ago that looked into the data availability from previous MSFD assessments. There is not much available, and that is a shame, because that's publicly funded data. There's a lot of work put into collecting those data, like my colleague said, and then only to reach kind of, not the end line, but to a certain stage, it's no longer available. So as a data manager, that's my work. That's what I fight for, is to ensure that data will continue to live many years after it's been collected, and it can be continuously reused.
And so very important for you, the standardization of data so it can be used across the board.
Yes.
But as you say, also this necessity to meet reporting obligations, because, you know, we've got to use data in a certain way. There are rules about that. Important for you, you keep that in mind?
Yes, so the reporting obligations, the member states have to comply with that. Within eModnet, we work with point data, so it's not necessarily what the EEA and DGM require, of course. As you've said very well, eModnet, the support that eModnet can provide is in terms of the standardization, the interoperability of the data across disciplines. We are experts in that for marine in situ data. We have a big network working towards that. So.
And we saw the digital twin of the ocean just beside us. Any links with that? How would it link up with that, for example?
I can answer on the second part, but I can answer now. Yes, of course. eModnet and the digital twin of the ocean are very well connected, almost with the umbilical cord, I would say, as Copernicus is as well. We are, both eModnet and the Copernicus Marine are the base, let's say, data sources into the digital twin of the ocean. So all the outputs that we have in terms of data or data products are available in the digital twin of the ocean and will continue to be available. So it's 3 services that are connected.
So very important, all of those links. Joanna, thank you very much. Stefano, for your surname, it's Chiavata? Chiavata. When I see the CIA, it's like the Italian bread, isn't it? Ciabatta. Chiavata. Mercator Ocean International. So Stefano, and correct us if we're wrong, but we see that you're an expert of marine ecosystem modeling, which is very important, and ocean data assimilation. And then it's the digital applications of all that. Now, for those who are not experts, it's always very hard to get our heads around all of that. So maybe just explain for perhaps a less expert audience like me, like perhaps some others, you know, what these activities mean, what you're actually doing, and the role when we talk about assimilations, for example, modeling, how we can use that to support ocean health, restoration, sustainability, etc. For a less expert audience. Stefano.
Yeah, I will try my best. And so I will tell you a story. So, between 2018 and 2021, 10 billion crabs disappeared from the Bering Sea. This was a fishery worth $150 million, $200 million per year. In 2022, the authorities blocked the fisheries of snow crab, thinking that overfishing was the problem. But in 2023, the NOAA scientists revealed the culprit. By integrating observations and models, they found that a heat wave, very hot water, has triggered an acceleration of the metabolism of the crabs, have shrunk their habitat, and led them to starvation. So here the story is not just about crabs. It's about the complexity of marine ecosystems and their relation to human well-being. And to capture this complexity, we need models integrated to data. Call it data assimilation, call it integration, but that's the stuff. We need actually marine ecosystem forecasts, pretty much as we have weather forecasts, so that we can anticipate what's wrong in the system and hopefully to mitigate collapses before they happen. So, but to have this marine ecosystem focus, we need two elements indeed. We need the observations, integrated, sustained, the kind of EMONET, and we need marine ecosystem models that explain what happens and predict what can happen in the future. And this is the kind of models that we have in the marine, Copernicus Marine Service. And then we have the digital twin of the ocean that brings together the data and the models so that those can be interlinked, can be interrogated by policymakers, by managers, so that they can anticipate changes and again, hopefully avoid collapses. Yeah, but I must be honest, with marine ecosystem focus, we are lagging a little bit behind ocean physics forecast or ocean biogeochemistry forecast. But luckily, the European Commission with Horizon Europe is filling these gaps. There are projects that are bringing into operational models fish modeling, habitat suitability models, seafloor, flora and fauna, pollution. And once these models will be in the Copernicus Marine Service and in the digital twin, we will be able to do scenarios for marine protected areas, fisheries options, and so to answer the questions that we wanted to do. So the take-home message here is that, okay, we are making a reality this capacity of marine forecasting, marine ecosystem forecasting. And this for sure will strengthen the European capacity to better protect marine ecosystems, guarantee food security, and ultimately the citizen well-being.
So I think you did that very well, breaking down something that could be very complicated with the story about the crabs. And maybe that is an essential element when it comes to dealing with data. We talk about in communications storytelling, finding the story behind the data, presenting it as a story, as a scenario. I know that when I saw the DTO next door, I spoke to Fabrice and he talked about the what-if situations. So don't tell me about the data, but tell me the story, tell me the situation, tell me the scenario. That's important also, Stefano, because you deal with figures and numbers and data, but you're also having to actually make that very accessible. Is that the case?
Well, I think so, yes. And if you go then to see the digital twin, you will see many other of these kind of stories. Behind there is science, of course. There is a nice application of bycatches of turtles. But behind there are models, there are data, and people are interested to that.
How difficult is it? How difficult is it for your teams, for example, to turn the complex data into something accessible that can be used across borders, for example, pan-European? How easy it is for people who are working with figures and statistics and data to actually turn it into something accessible?
Yeah, that's challenging indeed, because if we are talking just about observation accuracy, if we are talking about data assimilation as a way to integrate data into model by means of differential equations, we lose them. But if we present them in the digital twin of the ocean, that's a way to make this complexity accessible to the citizens. They can, I say play, but it's not a play, with figures, with options, with parameters, with situations, with scenarios, and get the answer that actually they need.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Stefano. Anders Eriksson from Danish Hydraulic Institute. We say that you have a unique place on this panel because you're the only representative of the private sector. It's always great to have all voices on these kinds of panels. Especially when it comes to marine digital applications. So extremely valued, I can imagine, in this sector. So, do you think that this is the time, is this the moment to promote the partnerships, public-private partnerships? We heard that in a couple of the keynote speeches yesterday from the European Commission, talking about partnerships, working together. Is this the moment? And we're also, talking about this concept of downstream applications when it comes to marine management, sustainability, etc. So making sure that, that we're using the applications that there's a wider use afterwards. Anders.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to this panel. It's a bit strange to be presented as the only commercial partners. As we saw, there were actually 20% in the room. So maybe I'm a little bit underrepresented, nevertheless, and I'm also maybe not fully commercial, but nevertheless. I will just start a little bit differently because echo a little bit of what David said, and also Stefano. Data is king. We have learned about a lot of data today. It all starts with the data, I think we heard this morning. But data is very, very good at setting the scene, as where the status, how does it look out there? But we need to understand how the pressures impacts the ecosystem parameters. That's what I heard from those two gentlemen here as well. So this pressure impact responses are extremely important. It's also what I think I heard, at least from Delila this morning and Olivier, that we need to work with the data. The data in itself does not represent the only value, at least. So data is king, but it doesn't change anything. Political decision changes stuff. And here we can use digital tools or scientific tools, whatever kind of model you can develop to assess. Now you ask me if it's time for the private partnership, public-private partnership, and I don't think it's a very easy question to answer actually, but it is definitely obvious. It's been mentioned by more persons. James Morrison yesterday also talked about the value chain. DHI is a private company who has been working in this area for many, many years. We have been developing downstream services from the early days of Copernicus, and also we are core user of EMONET data, CMEMS data, and will be doing that for many, many years. Now EU is developing digital twin of the oceans. Excellent. And the question is maybe also if these services like Edito are fully ready for commercial players. I am here because for me it's still a little bit of a black box. I have had some good discussions with Mercator, Fabrice and Vlis outside on their perspective. I will go home and explore more. But I mean, I have been working for doing advisory on a commercial basis. I've been in public-private partnerships with Aarhus University and Technical University of Denmark, developing both tools and setting targets to make sure that the Danish implementation of the Water Framework Directive live up to whatever is needed, developing maximum allowable inputs. But these are something we have been driving. I'm still a bit explorative about how can we actually benefit from these new developments, which are substantial. So is it time? Yeah, well, it has to be. We hear that from many of the keynote and the presenters. But my key message is that maybe it is time to invite private partners into the developments, so it will become more like a co-creation thing. It is extremely difficult to just get something presented and say, now you have this, please use it.
So being involved early on in these initiatives.
Early on, yes, please.
Okay, do you agree with this phrase, data tsunami? And is that having an impact? Because I know, some experts say that we're going to get to a point where we're overwhelmed, we're totally inundated, and it's going to be impossible to continue receiving such a large amount of data. Data tsunami, is that having an impact for you? Do you agree with that term?
There is a lot of data, for sure. It is important that we do not just look at all data as value. I totally agree that long time series is actually where we can use data to extract those impact pressure things which are extremely important. On the other hand, there is also value in all those new data sets that we are talking about. And here I actually see a small concern for small and medium-sized enterprises. There is a wealth of SMEs out there who are looking into doing SUVs, AUVs, new sensors, eDNA, all this kind of stuff. But then we are talking about standardization, and it has to be, it's never the same as the time series, the ship-based monitoring things that we always bring home and has done for ages. They're never the same, and it is a struggle for those, actually. So we want the digital twin to help them, but are we ready to let them in? Let's see.
Okay, and we're going to have a general question now for all of the panel on how you are working with ocean data digital applications that connect with the European Commission's marine data services. And we've talked a lot about EMODnet, CMs, EU DTO, etc. Maybe Anders, we can stay with you. I mean, are you working at the moment with any of these? Do you have strong links? What are you working on?
Well, right now we are working in a project with some of the universities I just mentioned on modernizing the Danish marine monitoring program. It's a bit of the same as what we just heard from you on data simulating or combining various types of data into models. So we use the models to interpolate in time and space. This is something that we hope that will be developed. We are using data from all services, Copernicus and EMODnet to support. There's not a lot of the Danish monitoring data that goes back to those services. Sorry for that, I don't know why. Of course, we should that from a Danish side. That's my personal, I'm not representing Denmark here. But the sharing of data is important, but also including other kinds of services in these data. So one way of bringing value to the new data is actually to combine them in models for getting an overview and getting to deal with the uncertainties of the different data.
Okay, Anders, thanks very much. And as you say, being involved when we're looking at downstream applications, making sure that we're involved, in the initial stages as well. Jan, let's take this question to you as well. So, with your applications, use of data, what's the connection with the European Commission's marine data services? We also talk about WISE Marine, for example. And these links, how can you then use those links, those assets, to talk about the protection of the maritime environment?
Thank you for the question. Personally, right now, I'm involved at the national level with the Maritime Spatial Planning Directive recast into the Ocean Act. And also, I'm involved in the Marine Strategy Framework Directive revision. And I'd like to see these two connect much better in the future. So the MSFD, but also together with the Water Framework Directive, as well as the Habitats and Bird Directives, and all those, of course, contribute to the EU biodiversity strategy. All that should be used for making the ecosystem approach work in spatial planning. So those are my concerns. If we get that to work at the national level, we can also serve as an example for the rest of Europe how it's done. And as a small country, like I said, we have fairly good data sets. We live next to a very shallow part of the ocean. Average depth of the Baltic Sea is 67 meters compared to the Mediterranean, where you have way more than a kilometer on average. So it's a different environment, and we can act as a test lab in the Baltic Sea to see what works if you have more detailed data. And speaking of detailed data, if the MSFD data wouldn't become in the future more detailed than it is today, it cannot deliver what is asked for the spatial planning. So we need to improve the spatial as well as the temporal resolution of the data to make it work at all levels of planning. But I have another thing that I'd like to mention now when I have the mic. I've been listening to the first panel, to the keynotes, and also I'm painfully aware that we are always now look at costs of things. But we should actually start to look more at the benefit and the value, economic value of the benefits of the information, science-based information that we have for decision making. Because if we can avoid errors or we can do the right thing when we have the data, then we're going to save money. And we should pay much more focus on that and not just look at the cost, which is just a fragment of the whole compared to the benefits that are many-folds. And then another thing that I also think Director Coates said in his keynote that systems can only be as good as the underlying data. And then we heard Ambassador Darwar say that data systems, not exactly his word, but data system can only be useful if they can deliver science-based knowledge for decision makers. And here I think that if I can create a greater demand of good information on oceans, then that demand will solve all our problems. The funding problem, the legal problem, the cooperation problem. There won't be any problems if the demands can be seen properly and in the detail that the world needs in order to be saved. So, thank you.
Okay, Jan, thanks very much. I saw David furiously nodding in agreement, so we'll get your perspective, David. Hopefully you're not too overwhelmed by the data tsunami. So your connections, also responding to what Jan was saying, but also your connections when it comes to the European Commission's data, applications, assets, etc.
So I'm going to channel my inner Stefano now, and I'm going to tell you a story. And the story is about a windmill. And it's very Dutch and Flanders. So in a windmill, you collect a lot of grain data. You take it to the windmill.
Maybe just the microphone very close to the mouth.
You collect a lot of grain, you take it to the windmill, you grind it into flour, you take it to the baker, you make it into bread, and then you deliver bread back to the farmer. So this is my understanding of the relationship between the EU data provision, those numbers, that grain, and then down the line, the miller is the first guy who builds the databases, get everything standardized, formulated, all the flours the same grade, and then you hand it to the modelers, and the modelers use that data to come back again. And I think that's what we need to do. And then finally, to take it back to the policymakers, and I'm going to sound patronizing, but it has to be quite simple. We have developed infographics for ecosystem overviews, for instance, which on one poster tells you the story of the Baltic and what to worry about, which is a lot. And so you can do that, or indeed you can tell stories to policymakers that this is going on, this is going on. And I guess policymakers are not vastly interested in the technicalities of the databases or the way they were collected. Their interest is in how they can create policy on the basis of that. So that's how I see this whole thing.
So the storytelling concept as well coming into this.
Yeah, I love storytelling. Fishermen tell me stories and I create science from that. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, and in the world of journalism, we now have like a data journalist. So a journalist actually creating a story from data, which is useful. And now lots of companies employing a data journalist, a data reporter. So great, Joanna, so same question to you. So the connections, the possible connections, existing connections with what's available already within the European Commission's range of assets?
Yes, so I'll try to follow on from David. I have some colleagues that describe the system, the data system, behind what you actually see as the plumbing that feeds the water into, for example, Edito. So we need to have appropriate resources all across that system, from those that are collecting in situ to the data centers, be it oceanographic or geological surveys, that will curate those data for eternity, let's put it like that. That those data centers are connected to EMODNet. EMODNet is then connected as well to Edito, like I've mentioned before. Along this path, there are other input sources of data, like, for example, from the member states. So it's not just research data, but also the member states' data can plug into this system as well. The system exists. It's not something that we have to build. We have to reinforce it and continuously maintain it. And for example, and from the EMODNet biology perspective, which is the area that I work with, so we have this pathway from EMODNet to Edito, but we are also connected with other biodiversity initiatives, like OBIS, the Ocean Biodiversity Information System, and GBIF, the Global Biodiversity Information System. This is possible because we use the same tools, we use the same standards, and so we can make our data comparable, interoperable. And this is very important, I think.
And also putting the focus on ocean health. We said in the previous panel, making sure that ocean health is seen as a big component, as a beneficiary, if you like, of this system. Would you agree with that?
Well, I'm not a biologist by training, but one of the things that I learned very quickly when I started my current role was that you cannot really have an accurate assessment of the biodiversity, of the status of biodiversity now, if you don't know the status in the past. And in the past can be historical, but it can also be 10 years ago, it can be 20 years ago. It doesn't need to go back to the 1800s or the 1700s. So you need to have data that will support all these assessments and that you can see how the system has evolved. And that you can build the knowledge with the data. Yes.
Okay, Joanna, Stefano, same question to you. So the connections with what we have on offer within the European Commission's range of assets.
Yeah, this is an easier question than the first one. Because as a lead of the Marine Ecosystem Service, I'm at Mercator Ocean, I'm quite well connected with the European digital and data services. Mercator is implementing the Copernicus Marine Service, which provides the free data and forecast on the ocean to more than 100,000 users. We are contributing with EMODNet to the digital twin of the ocean, and the complementarity with EMODNet is clear. It's providing the interoperable, continued data to the digital twin. But my focus is more on marine ecosystem modeling, as I said. And so through European projects like Necton, we are bringing into this system also fish models, benthic flora and fauna models, pollution, plastic, mercury kind of models. And once these will be implemented in the Copernicus Marine Service and in the digital twin of the ocean, the users will be really able to interrogate the system to build scenarios for marine protected areas, for fisheries options, and for coastal management option based on science evidences. So again, here the thing is that, again, marine ecosystem modeling integrated with observations for operational use and in the digital twin is becoming a reality. And by means of this, we strengthen the capability to better protect marine ecosystems, food security, and ultimately the well-being of the citizens.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. And Anders, you've already given your perspective on this point. I'm delighted to hear the stories that come out when we're talking about data. It's not often the case. I work a lot in communications, and we always say it's not the data, it's the people behind the data and it's the people using the data. And, you know, it seems to be a theme also, Shalina Vicheva was saying yesterday, you know, using the word emotion. With the violinist we had on the day yesterday, the emotion, it's the empathy, it's the stories, it's the people. The human in the loop when it comes to the data. So thank you all very much. Just to finish the session, what I'd like to do is to come to each of you with your key takeaway. This can be a magic wand question as well. What would you fix straight away this afternoon if I gave you a magic wand? Maybe it's also your elevator pitch. If you had 30 seconds with Delila or with Charlene or somebody from the Commission, what would you say to them on this topic? That kind of answer at the end, it only has to be 30 seconds, a minute. Let's start. Well, who's ready for this? Jan, can I come to you? I think I gave you warning of this earlier on.
Yeah, if I start here at this end, it's easy to go run along the whole line. Yeah, thank you. There's plenty of take-home messages, actually, but I think that we should use the opportunities we have. Like I mentioned, there's some legislation like the MSFD as well as the Ocean Act soon coming up. I think that we should use this opportunity to fix some of the problems that we have been having for quite some time. And it's that many of the EU legislations are implemented quite separately, individually. We should make sure that we can use all the connections, like I said, collect one's data and use it many times. That should also apply to EU legislation when we are doing reporting, for instance. And in Finland, we have had great benefit and actually saved fund by implementing the MSFD, the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, and the Water Framework Directive. So using the possibilities or synergy effects, that's one thing that I like to highlight. Then nobody has mentioned any security issues. We've been talking about data all morning. I like to see much more the type of data risks that we have with data that can be a risk from a national security point of view. And I'm not pointing any fingers, but if you follow the news from the Baltic Sea, you realize that underwater infrastructure data is not something that you can have publicly published anymore. But there are also other types of data, so we should, in the future, work more closely with defense people on these issues. Sorry, a bit more than a minute.
Jan, thank you very much. Lots of interesting points. David, you have 30 seconds in an elevator with somebody from the Commission. What's your key takeaway, your key point, your magic wand answer?
Thank you. Is that 30 of Jan's seconds?
Or a minute and a half.
Okay, so I'm going to channel my inner Jan. I thought the comment he made about the political will, if they want this knowledge, they'll pay for it. And I've felt most of my career they haven't wanted information about ecosystem-based fisheries management because it's too difficult. And I would love them to know. And probably in the same context, I would really desperately like to wave a magic wand and have regular, not often, but regular meetings with DG Murray, DG Env about what they wanted, what I could deliver. I've suggested this to them, a country house hotel, dozen cases of good champagne, and a 4-star Michelin chef. And the amount of business that we could do in that weekend would be stupendous. So there's my magic wand.
And if you're there, I'll join you as long as there's a nice wellness center and a spa. David, thank you very much. Joanna, same question to you, your key takeaway, magic wand, if you could fix something this afternoon.
To continue to push for data to be at center stage. Data are relevant for everything, policy, science, defense. So I think that would be my attempt to change, to continue to push it into the bright light that it deserves, and for it to not be an afterthought, which it still is, more frequently than I would like to.
Okay, so pushing it further up the agenda. It's already going up the agenda because we've included it in a panel discussion today, so that's reassuring, but further up the agenda. Stefano.
Yeah, my take-home message will be, let's work together as marine ecosystems do. We have the capacity to bring all our expertise, all the capacities together, because we have them, but now we have to put them in practice and work as marine ecosystem, all together.
Yep, so the collaboration and not just the talking, but also concrete action afterwards. Stefano, thanks very much. Final word, last but not least, Anders.
Yes, thank you very much. And I will go back to the co-creation. In digital development, you do use co-creation. At DHI, we've been developing digital tools for years. The positive phrasing would be some were successful. Now we have a UX team helping us phrasing these things. So that will be my take home. I mean, it's easier to work while you're inside. If you just wait, we as the commercial side, waiting for somebody to bring you something to build on top, there is a chance it will not be as successful as it could have been. So I will be hoping for an invitation.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you to all of our panel. A big round of applause for our panel on a lot of these thoughts. Sometimes we have panels on data and applications, and it's not always as animated, so thank you all so much for making this accessible to a wide public, as we saw a big research community patch here today, and also a lot of people watching on the live stream, so thank you very much. So thank you. You can retake your seats in the audience. Thank you very much. We're going to be having some closing remarks from the Deputy Director General at DJ Murray, Kęstutis Sadauskas. So he'll be wrapping up the 2 panel sessions that we've heard, and lots of information, lots of key points coming up. But first of all, I'd like to go back to you and the audience with a couple of Slido questions. And we asked you in the very beginning about your expectations. I think about 6% said they were here for the food, the good food and the ambiance. 0 people said they were here for the handsome moderator. But was your initial expectation on the session met with respect to the first Slido round, what you decided was your main choice for attending? Oh, that's great. So this is like an evaluation, isn't it? This is very nerve-wracking for me, because if we don't get a good response, I'm never coming back. So please, I'm offering money as well if you want to say, yes, it was great. Yes, but actually it's just meeting your expectations, because a lot of you said you were here to learn, to be inspired. A lot of you also said it was for the networking. So great, close to, yes, I think that's not a bad result. Only 1% Delila saying no, expectations not met, so that's not too bad. This is a terrible question, actually, to ask an audience. I don't know whose idea this was, but very interesting. And it's great to get feedback, and it's great to see whether your expectations were met. So close to and yes. Yes and exceeded, 10%. So I'm taking that as a good result. Can we agree it's a good result? Hands up if we all think this was a good result. Great, so I can enjoy my lunch afterwards. We have a second Slido question, so thank you very much for those responses. And the second Slido question is a bit like the last question we had with the panel, which is, what was your highlight of the session? Not just this panel, but also the previous one, so both panels together. What was your highlight? Storytelling, great. Who chose storytelling? I want to talk to you over lunch. Data, of course, data, yes, that was the main theme, wasn't it, of the second session? Gosh, can we keep storytelling in the middle? 3 people on the panel use storytelling concepts. For me, it's crucial for data, and I think for marine ocean health, stories work much better when we're trying to get people on board with very complicated, very complex situations. Collaboration, another key word. Data tsunami, that's going down in my notebook as well. For future sessions, I'm going to steal that, David. I hope you don't mind. I'll give you a commission if I use it again. Data lake to data ocean to data tsunami. We have just a heart, just a nice heart there as well. Storytelling, collaboration. Security came up briefly at the end. We have a whole session on maritime security as well on Thursday. So that's great as well. Integration. Somebody's misspelt handsome. I see the word there, Hanson, like it's somebody's name. So that's terrible. Can we correct that? Handsome. My grandmother would agree. Political will, that was a great one. Political will, and that actually came up amongst quite a few of the panelists. The quality of the data, the usefulness of the data, political decisions, value of the data, great. So I think we can all agree, and I'm actually delighted that storytelling is right there in the middle. And I don't think you did that just for me, because it's my pet subject. So great. So listen, a big round of applause to all of you as well for these results. Kęstutis, if you want to join me on the stage, maybe first of all you can just give me a brief reaction before your closing remarks. Just a brief reaction. Are you surprised by this word cloud? Are you surprised by some of the words that we saw there on the screen? What's your take on these results?
Thank you, Seamus. If I'm surprised, I'm only positively surprised about that, because that's what has been in our heads for quite some time already, is exactly how to tell a very tedious and very hard work in very simple words to especially to our politicians, because it's not a given that everybody fully understands what's behind it. For me, if I were to give a comparison of what it is like, it's a bit like a watch. You want to see the time, you want to see the arrows and the time that they show, and you make your decisions on the basis of that. You don't really care what's behind it, all the complex things that behind it, unless it gets broken. And unless you are a technological nerd, you probably would just take it to a repairman if something gets broken there. But the most important thing is really the simple thing. So indeed, I fully agree that all you need for a politician is a simple chart that tells that kind of a story and implies probably a decision that needs to be made. And what's behind it is yet another matter, but we know that what's behind it is a super hard work, and without it, there is no surface, there is no chart, there is no watch.
Absolutely, and so storytelling also integrated now in many universities as a proper course, a training course. 3 years on storytelling, so delighted. So thank you very much, Kęstutis. I'll leave you for your closing remarks. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you. And well, as indeed we come close to the session on marine knowledge for the ocean health, one message that resonates quite clearly from today's discussion is that healthy ocean depends on our collective ability to observe it closer, to understand it better, and to act together across borders, across sectors, and across disciplines. And yesterday, in the opening conference, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, reminded us of these needs and of the central role of an ocean observation initiative, Ocean Eye, and its growing ambition to strengthen the ocean observation as a foundation of marine knowledge, ocean health, resilience, and the global leadership. And her speech sets the tone for the next days, for weeks, for months, probably I would say years, about the enhanced ocean observation capacities and vast digital tools that are becoming central to Europe's vision for the ocean. In fact, Seamus, to your question about the magic wand, at least a couple of months ago, for me, the answer would have been, I need my Commission's president to say something about it, and it did happen. So and I'm looking for a second chance to wave that wand, and that probably will be indeed a collaboration and hard work that we need to put into together now. This morning, our first panel echoed these important encouragements and highlighted the urgency of strengthening the ocean observation in Europe, because fragmentation, gaps, and duplication, they limit our capacity to fully understand how ocean functions and how it changes. So Ocean Eye initiative means that we're moving to a more robust, coordinated, and sustained European ocean observation system. And it is not a technical luxury. It is a political necessity, especially if we are successful with the storytelling. A transparent governance and coordination framework for European ocean observation system is essential to align national, regional, and European efforts and to ensure long-term sustainability, maximum value of every euro that is invested into observations. And there is a lot that is being invested because it's an expensive undertaking to do. Crucially, Europe does not need to observe the ocean alone, and it does not observe the ocean alone. We are as strong as we are part of the global ocean observation system. And Europe has both a responsibility and an opportunity to lead here by example and by responsibility through delivering high quality, interoperable, and accessible observations that strengthen global ocean knowledge and health. Better coordination leads to better data, and better data leads to better decisions. It is, in fact, the foundation of everything else that follows. As our second panel clearly demonstrated, ocean data only deliver value where it is accessible, harmonized, and fit for purpose. And even if it's not accessible, like it's been mentioned for security purposes, has to be accessible to those that really need to make the decisions. And sometimes it's even more nuanced and more crucial than just an open data. Models, forecasts, indicators, and scenarios are only as good as observations behind them. And this is particularly true for tools like the European Digital Twin of the Ocean, which is a transformative asset that will support what-if scenarios, policy testing, and informed decision-making. The twin will only reach its full potential if it is continuously fed through a strong European ocean observation system by high-quality, trusted data streams. Europe is already equipped with world-class marine knowledge services and assets. EMODNet, Copernicus Marine Service, WISE Marine, and of course the DTO, the emerging DTO. Together they form a powerful and complementary ecosystem. They underpin environmental policies such as Marine Strategy Framework Directive, Nature Restoration Regulation, Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction, and many others. Another key insight from today is the significant potential unlocked by strong engagement with the private sector, because innovation, digital application, and operational services for the ocean health will increasingly depend on this public-private collaboration. So clear frameworks, shared objectives, and predictable data environments in Europe can unlock this private investment and expertise, and at the same time would ensure that public good objectives, transparency, and trust remain at the core. So before we close, let me extend an invitation. Throughout this week, you have the opportunity to visit the exhibition of the European Digital Twin of the Ocean. I strongly encourage you to take advantage of it, just like Ursula von der Leyen did yesterday. I strongly encourage you to take advantage of it and really look for what it can deliver. What you will see today is only the beginning, because by 2030, with an operational digital twin of the ocean and the strengthened European Ocean Observation System, our collective capacity to protect, restore, and sustainably manage the ocean will be, again, enhanced and will take it to a different level. So finally, big thanks to you for being here, for contributing to this discussion. This event would not have been possible without many of my colleagues from DG Mare, from DEFIS, from DG Environment, and your joint commitment perfectly illustrates that an integrated approach, that's what the ocean health requires. So let's take today's discussions as a call for action to align governance, to strengthen coordination, to turn the marine knowledge into the real impact, and let's take this big political momentum, because the political ownership that we've been trying to get is there, so it's now for us to make sure it does deliver. Thank you very much, and I wish you a nice day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kestutis. So we're coming to the end of the session just before lunch. But actually, the organizers of this session would like all of the panelists to come on the stage for a group photo. So all of the panelists from session 1 and session 2, both panels, onto the stage, please, for a photograph. Our photographer is in the middle of the room. It's also for other people as well, if they want to take a photograph. I will go off the stage, so it's just the panelists. Also, don't forget, Sea of Sounds, Room 7, virtual reality, up the silver stairs, right to the end of the corridor. It's fascinating. Also, Sounds of the Ocean, the audio experience during the lunch. So thank you, all of you. Now, this is going to be difficult. Are they in a good position? Yep, absolutely fine. So let me just come off the stage so that I'm not in this. And big smiles. Big smiles for the camera. Looking at the camera right in the middle of the room. You can see him there standing up. Don't look at me. Oh, was that okay? Yeah, just wait a minute. Looking at the camera. Smile, cheese. Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch. Thank you very much.